What's going on, folks? This is Acid Roots. I've got an album review after taking a little bit of a break from it. I've done a bunch of EPs, but I'm going to review the Dub C album, Guilty by Affiliation. Now, this has someone else on the album cover when you pick this up. It also has Ice Cube, who features on this album like 8 times out of 14 songs, which is good because I think in a lot of ways, where most folks know Dub C from, or a good handful would be from West Side Connection, which was Ice Cube's group back in the 90s and early 2000s. So that was the group responsible for Bow Down, uh, Gangsta Nation with Nate Dogg, something like that. Is one of those songs, and then they had like another song called Gangstas Make the World Go Round. He was pretty much like the second most recognizable. I mean, Mac 10 was good, but it felt like if there was someone who was going to break out next after Ice Cube, it probably would have been Dub C. Now, obviously, Mac 10 is not on Guilty by Affiliation. I think Ice Cube kind of had a falling out with Mac 10 at some point. I don't remember when, but he did. And so I guess Dub C kind of carried that same attitude also. But for what it is, this is a decent album. I mean, I was kind of looking for like a single, but I suppose since he's kind of off to the side, you're more or less getting like, extra Ice Cube if you need it, and then like good rap music, and then on top of that, like a small handful of songs that can be passable to maybe like casual listeners. So that's the thing. This is supposed to be hardcore rap. It's gangsta rap for one thing. It's West Coast for another. And then it's also hardcore rap, just the stuff that you listen to when rap is like the primary thing you listen to. So I'll talk about the single. I would say the Wikipedia says that the single is "This Is Los Angeles," which is the first song that you hear. So I didn't really like this song. It I think that kind of serves as to why maybe this album was underrated. Is just because some of the first songs that you hear are not necessarily the best. Ice Cube appears on the song. He's in the hook, but I found the piano beat kind of boring. I mean, it feels like a West Coast album, but I mean, some of these are just, yeah, I would just have to say it's not the definitive song. I mean, you're gonna have to look deeper than the first couple songs to be able to find the best songs on here. So, but yeah, West Coast Voodoo, I'll give that like an on the fence song, a song that could be good later that will kind of grow on you, but I didn't like it first off. I mean, it felt a little bit clumsy, but the game is on there, and it sounds pretty similar to This Is Los Angeles and the title track Guilty by Affiliation. So all three of those songs sound similar. But that's the only single. The rest of the album you have to kind of dive in on your own. I tried listening to a few of the ones with Ice Cube to figure out what's good with that, and he does have some good moments. Their chemistry is proven, and I'll list a few of the Ice Cube songs that, in my opinion, worked out. So Keep It 100 was a good one. That one definitely worked. It's kind of quirky, a little bit left field. Seems like something Dub C wouldn't really do, but I kind of liked it. And the title track, Guilty by Affiliation, like I said, that's similar to This Is Los Angeles, but the configuration to it's better. It just feels more appropriate for that. I felt like the piano sounding was similar, but it just had better keys in that song. At least, I mean, that was where I was getting from that. And then 80s Babies, Ice Cube drops a verse. I mean, he most of the time, out of these 8 times you're going to hear from Ice Cube, he's on the hook most of the time. But on 80s Babies, he actually drops a verse, and it was pretty good. They're just talking about if you were born in the 80s, it's more than likely people like us are your father, Dub C, Ice Cube, they mean. So I like that song. It probably has the best beat on the project, and Ice Cube, of course, does real well with it. But yeah, I'd say it's deep in the albums. That's the thing. It's the 12th one, so you have to search for some of these. But I'm gonna also cover some of the rest of these that I felt like were worthwhile. So I wound up liking 5 songs and almost 6 songs out of 14. So I'll go ahead and list those now. So they are Paranoid, Guilty by Affiliation, Keep It 100, Side Dick, and 80s Babies. And then the almost song was West Coast Voodoo. So I'll talk about a few of these. Like I said, the one of the wilder ones was Keep It 100. Side Dick was kind of another one. That one just felt uh, kind of out of the ordinary. Just off. It's kind of off topic, something that didn't fit with the album. Guilty by Affiliation, and obviously it's towards women, but it works. It's not a dull song to listen to. So, and plus, I like the production on that one. It's by the legendary Trackster, who normally works with Twista. So that was a nice one. I mentioned 80s Babies. Paranoid was another one with Ice Cube that worked a little bit better. I mean, that probably should have felt like possibly a second single. Uh, uh, just real low key. I mean, that's a real low key song. It feels like kind of something you'd maybe listen to in your vehicle at night, something like that. Just kind of cruise, slow cruise, that sort of stuff. So, I mean, really, the problem with this album is it doesn't really have a song like "Bow Down," which is this type of song that I feel like Dub C needs the most, and it doesn't have a song that just is kind of out of left field like Gangsta's Make the World Go Round was. I mean, Ice Cube was pretty good about that. He mostly was just on the hooks to kind of help people who maybe weren't used to this guy quite yet. But I mean, I kind of wish that the songwriting would have transversed with it, just to say, this is the song that we're marketing to promote the album. I mean, obviously it was going to come out, but I think it was just more for his hardcore base, more so than trying to promote it and trying to go gold or platinum or something like that. So you don't really get like radio. I mean, I wouldn't expect radio material from Dub C, but I would expect something that just is a hit that can actually hit airwaves anyways, kind of like Bow Down and Gangsta Nation did, or Thug Nation, whichever the song's called. But obviously Ice Cube didn't he didn't give that off, but it's still good music. I mean, I still think it would get like a decent score. You'll see what I say in a second. So the songs are good, but it just doesn't seem like there's even out of the album cuts like something that you're just going to hear in some person's car that you might overhear or something like that. Like, oh yeah, that is a popular song, like Blueberry Yum Yum by Ludacris, or I'm trying to think, Lil Wayne was pretty good at that sort of stuff, and all these different folks, you just would hear songs that weren't the singles. So, but it is good. I mean, that's the thing. It's better than expected. It's probably better than most uh, crew members could do without like featuring a head honcho. Because Ice Cube really doesn't do much besides do the hook, so it's really just Dub C that you're getting. And the Snoop Dogg and Butch Cassidy song is really not that good either. It was kind of a waste of their, features. So, but yeah, I would say I'm gonna give this album like a 4.5 out of 10, just because I liked 5 songs out of 14. So that's a little bit less than, well, it's quite a bit less than half. But for what it is, it's fun. The songs that are good are fun, but there's a lot of plotting along songs, and just songs that are kind of difficult to figure out where you're going to listen to them and why you're listening to them, and if they have like this recreational value to them and that sort of thing. Like I know some of these are intended for like the type of folks that are similar to Dub C, but I think it was kind of aiming for like a sort of theme, just kind of saying like, the problems in California is just growing up. It was kind of like a 2000s edition of a 90s cat who felt those problems back then. But uh, I was just thinking it probably needed to be a little bit. I don't want to coach and say it needed to be more interesting, but when you listen to it, it just depends how many hits you're going to find on there. So the social score, I'm going to give basically like a 2 out of 10, is because it didn't really have that much promotion. I mean, even for I felt like Ice Cube had a big enough presence in the 2000s, and it probably would have helped iron things out a bit more. We might have even got like a third West Side Connection album if he had repaired things with Mac 10. But I mean, I do feel like at this point, if 50 Cent can get G Unit to drop singles and that sort of stuff, I mean, it just was necessary that there should have been, you know, somewhat more promotion for Dub C. And I know some folks might be like, well, that's the point, is he's this hardcore West Coast rap. He's not meant for the radio, but it still doesn't mean that they couldn't have made a few music videos. And I think that's kind of the situation, just seeing it through his eyes and what he might have thought and his visuals as far as his perception of what his album was supposed to do was. And plus, it would have been good just to see him and Ice Cube in a video after that time. So that's kind of the thing. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be 80s Babies, but I don't know if that would have even charted or made any noise. But there probably did need to be a little bit more. So, beyond that, it's kind of a hair below decent. I mean, this album is not, it doesn't tank. It's not a flop. It's not a brick, but it just does not have the full. It's just kind of, what am I trying to say here? It just is kind of hollow. I mean, that's the thing, is the album is kind of hollow. I mean, for what it is, Ice Cube kind of helped. I mean, he did hooks often enough, but some of the songs he put those on just didn't quite really benefit him that much to make things better, because they weren't on some of the best songs. So you get what you get. You get a good handful of songs, but it still feels like underwhelming almost. So that's just kind of the thing. So for what it is, for Dub C, I mean, if some of his previous albums didn't do it, I suppose that's good, but it basically gives you a couple of things. It gives you extra Ice Cube if you need it, and it gives you someone who knows him and that sort of stuff as like a new rap to kind of mess with when you want. So subscribe for more fun.